In this century, America has become a nation on wheels. After World War II, the nation began developing a case of acute congestion that cost us millions of dollars a year. In 1956, there were more than 65 million cars on our roads, with 90 million forecast by 1975. Clearly, it was a time for national action.
With more research and incentives, we can break our dependence on oil with biofuels and become the first country to have 1 million electric vehicles on the road by 2050.
For many Americans, there is no more pressing concern than the price of gasoline.
Because we are now running out of gas and oil, we must prepare quickly.
We face the possibility of temporary fuel shortages and some increases in fuel prices in America.
The late 60s, efficiency all of a sudden came into perspective, and the country was going towards the first energy crisis. So there was a lot of interest in more efficient cars. So his idea was, if you make the car half as wide as a normal car, you can put twice as many cars onto the street. And if they're running at half the gas consumption at the same time too, even better.
Alex Tremulis was a visionary in the automotive field. He really foresaw the future, and what his vision for the future was transportation that was streamlined, efficient, fuel efficient, and potentially very, very fast. In 1947, he met up with Preston Tucker, and he designed, again, another extremely revolutionary car called the Tucker 48. And that was really one of his most proud moments, was his association with Preston Tucker. The initial inklings for the gyroscopically stabilized automobile came to Alex during World War II. One of his jobs at Wright Field was to piece together damaged or destroyed captured German vehicles and draw what they would have looked like back when they were functional. They brought to him a destroyed V-2 rocket. Inside of the V-2 rocket was this gyroscope, and the gyroscope basically steered the V-2 rocket up into the upper atmosphere and would drop it onto whatever target you programmed into the gyroscope. So in his mind, he saw these gyroscopes as a way to control whatever direction you were headed in an automobile. He thought, let's use this for good instead of dropping bombs. He saw that at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway that there was no reason that an automobile should spin out of control and hit the wall. There would be no more spin-outs because the gyro would hold it to the track and hold it on whatever direction that you steer it in. In 1952, he joined the Ford Motor Company. So he thought, let's figure out a way to get a gyro into a passenger car. And his boss at the time told him, look, Ford is not going to pursue your pet project here. We just can't afford it. And Alex carried that concept onto the GyroX with Tom Summers and Gyrodynamics. So they pursued the GyroX, and that became one of the first gyroscopically stabilized automobiles really designed for mass market in the world. By 1970, I believe it was, the funding had dried up. There was no more money. As with any automotive venture, as with any venture in general, it always takes twice as long and twice as much money as you ever thought you would ever need.
Came into my possession via a bad debt. It's a complete one-off. I've never found anybody yet who's ever seen anything like it or knows what it is. The main thing, I'd love it if anybody out there remembers this car or ever saw it raced. It's obviously not a kit car. Somebody built this whole thing by hand.
Lane Motor Museum has about 400 cars, mostly European, although we have American, Chinese, Japanese, other brands. Our focus is mostly on unique and different cars that typically people haven't seen.
It's like every time he doesn't tell us when he buys something. So when the transporter came and the car rolled out, we were all like, what is it? Where do you start? You start with what you have. You look into everything, you look into the car, you try to figure out what is original and what is not.
But people come in and say, how do you work on these cars? There's no manuals, or if they are, they might only be in a foreign language. And you know, but the thing is, a car's a car, and both the guys and all of us, we just look at it and figure out how it works.
You know, you take a known measurement on the car. I know how wide this is, right? If I know that, I can determine a factor, and then I start measuring from here to here. So this is the only detail picture that I have of the swing arm as it was originally on the car, because obviously it was missing when we got the car. So there's only a certain number of things that I know. For example, I know the dimensions of that brake caliper. And so I know that the distance between these two bolts is 5 1/4 inches. So if I know that this is 5 1/4, then I just have to measure on the picture here, for example, how big this bearing is, how big the axle is, how big the distance between the two axles is. And that's how you go about the whole thing. We are almost done with the drivetrain. I'm just in the last stages of getting the shifter linkage done. I have to put a joint in here, and then it's without tension. And then, you know, 2 bushings here and a joint here, and then it can slide forward and backward without a lot of resistance. Because when it goes back really heavy, and then forward it slides better, but it's just not smooth enough for shifting.
There's a couple of articles about the gyro which are conflicting, because some of them talk about a flywheel weight, and then I think one mentioned 250 pounds, another one mentioned 200 pounds. So there's some discrepancy in the articles. We have pictures of it installed in the car, on the top. So there are some photographs of it.
If it exceeds our capabilities of fabrication and machining, then we source it out to someone that really knows about these things. And with the gyro, it's been the same thing. So we have a specialist that takes care of that.
In early November, he's coming up. He's bringing everything. He's going to stay here for a few days or a week and install it. And, hopefully it will work out.
What could possibly go wrong? I think it's pretty awesome. That has not been seen for 45 years.